Hello, my dear ones. Always a great pleasure to speak to you guys and help us all get ourselves expanded and healthy again. Look at this. I found this as an old naturopathic magazine, probably from the 1940s, 30s, something like that. Well, wait a minute. 65. But I did have, and Jensen had some old Benedict Luss. Look, this is the Clements Institute. I mean, these people were heavy into the raw, whether it be vegetarian raw or fruitarian raw. And of course, they're a lot like we are. They like to take things apart and see the truth of it, and that's the point. We stuck that Dr. Pimple Popper video up. That really was just a video I wanted to do for her because she had this man with psoriasis on there, and she said, well, the only way is I'm going to have to suppress your immune system a little bit, and that way it'll go away. So it was a steroid shot. And I just it's great that you show us how you debride these tumors and things like that, but when you start treating your patients, and especially with steroids and things like that, she's got to know by now that the blowback is greater. You all know that. I've been fighting eczema and psoriasis, and what's up with that. So it's a big lack of understanding the lymphatic system. We as humans, but particularly in America, we praise the academic mind. Unfortunately, we should praise the spiritual awareness as opposed to the conditioned mind, because the mind is just a conditioned instrument. And when you start praising that, you're praising an instrument that was totally brainwashed, basically, by the past. And so that's the problem with that. The mind lacks awareness, because the awareness isn't a part of the mind. It isn't a part of emotions. It isn't a part of the physical body. These are bodies and vehicles to navigate within these worlds. The mind is to create, to expand, to learn upon and navigate and create your journeys. It hasn't anything to do with awareness. The awareness comes from you. That's what is using the mind. So that's what I'm trying to get you guys back to, is that awareness. And the only way you can get back to your awakeness, your awareness, is stop thinking. Get out of chasing the rainbows of thought. Because thoughts are dime a dozen, and they're all over the place. And some might not even be yours. That's some of the problems you have to be careful. Some thoughts might not be yours. There's the universal mind that your mind, individual minds come out of. And it's a collective mind. And so everything is there in creation. But these are just instruments that we use. So we need to learn how to praise the awakeness, the awareness of things. And when we do, we find simplicity. In creation, simplicity then builds into complexity. But then if you notice, it turns back to simplicity, just like digestion, or how the body deals with chemistry. As chemistry is formed from your your kind of like your nano and who knows sub-nanos and all these micro levels of whatever, and then gets into the subatomic, and then into the atomic particles, and then you've got the cells being formed out of that, and then you get the elements, all these things being formed out of atoms, and then the subatomic particles that have formed the atoms, and then those particles that are created out of. But when you chase it all back and you break it apart, one thing they discovered is pure energy. And so when you see pure energy, you go, pure energy, what the heck is that? Because you can't touch energy, you can feel it. But the interesting part about it is that in quantum physics, remember, they're talking about energy as intelligence. That's difficult for the mind to grasp, because the mind is not about intelligence or awareness. I think if you use the old farm boy attitude that common sense is awareness. So you see a lot of people that use their minds don't have common sense a lot of times. And you got to balance that. You got to use the mind and develop your mental powers. But you also have to control that through awareness. Because if you get lost in that, then you start spouting things that are not true. You start becoming part of the pack. And that old saying, if you're not lead dog, the view is always the same. I was watching, it was either the Last Frontier, I think it was Life Below Zero. And that one guy had said that, if you're not lead dog, the view's pretty much the same. So, anyway, do you see that? Look at that. Isn't that wild? Pretty cool. You guys are pretty cool beings. Fun to interact with you. And that's what you want to have. You want to have fun in your life. If your detox gets too radical, break it for a little bit, or have something you're craving or something, and break that so you can enjoy that. Because you want to always enjoy your detox, because eating fruit makes you happier, more awake. The problem is serious, is that it's very difficult to get good fruit. You've got Thailand sitting up one of the top delicious fruits on the planet. The islands, most of them have good fruit. Costa Rica, but getting more and more difficult to get good fruit. And up here in the States, my God, it's kind of like the farmers. And we were farmers, and my uncles were farmers, and it's like, I remember their big thing was yield. Let's get yield out of it, and that's what they were sold by Monsanto and some of these people like that are supposed to helping humanity, right? Yeah. And so they went into yields, more yields per acre. And the reality is, if they had went to organic and knew how to culture their grounds properly, they would still have even greater yields, and they wouldn't lose those yields over years, because now the chemicals have disrupted the soil so much that the yields are coming back down. And it's like, oh, sad stuff. But you know what? It's all in the scheme of things. Remember, this world is simply illusionary movement. It's like going to a play. Let's write a script. Now, what's your journey? What do you want to do here in this lifetime? Okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. It's a script. So you live by the script. When you want to break that, you have to break the chain of thought, the chain of desire. And I don't think there's any spiritual giants, gurus, whatever you want to call them. The ascended masters, the bi-gurus and gurus, and then, of course, the extreme masters, and then the masters' masters. And then you get those beings that are above the masters' masters. And, you're talking about tremendous amount of awareness and power and that sort of thing, as opposed to the chasing of thoughts and dramas and things like that, So if you want to be free from that and you want to be happy, don't judge others, don't judge yourself. Life just is. And as you gain awareness from collecting and getting beyond your thinking, doesn't mean you can't use the mind. You're always going to use the mind to navigate creation, because consciousness does not do well in creation. I don't know if you ever lived in the now so much that you wondered where you were, because it's an extreme case of the now. And so in the now, there is no past and there is no future. Everything just is in the present moment. And that's consciousness. Out of that springs duality, which then divides itself into matter, energy, space, and time, that sort of thing. And then you have differences, you have time, you have all that. But in the present moment, if you're living in that be here now stage, there is no past, there is no future, there is no time. And when you get that, then you realize what God is and who God is and that sort of thing. Fun stuff. Another thing is cold out. So this is wintertime. And it's difficult in these northern climates because Homo sapiens are not paleos, they're not northern beings. And so difficult to stay warm when that polar freeze that came down from Canada into the States. It was pretty cold. You had your minus 60s and 70s wind chills. You had actually minus 20s and 30s in actual temperatures. That's like northern Alaska stuff. And it's like, I don't see how beings can live in that constantly. Like Alaskans, these guys got to be hardy beings because, holy Lord. cold, but cold is alkaline. Of course, this is why everybody detoxes. When it gets cold out there, everybody starts to go on these cold and flu-like symptoms, and the medical doctors are scrambling, oh, I got to give you antibiotics, and oh my God, look at all these measles. Oh, you should be on these vaccines and stuff like that. No, really? When you create a terrain of acids in the body, a terrain full of mucus and congestion, that's just what you're going to get. Whether it's mumps, measles, I don't care what you call it. And all that is highly curable stuff. It's just detoxing the body, getting your lymphatic system back in shape, but a lot of people treat that. Well, when you start that chasing of treatment, you start with the vaccines and the horrible effect that they have on your body, and then antibiotics when you start killing the bacteria in your lymph nodes. This is when you start sending people down to Hellville. And that's just out of pure ignorance. Well, that's unawareness. So it's important that if you want to be awake and aware, you've got to get out of that mind, because the mind is highly controlled right now, and on a lot of levels. I did time in the Air Force, and even then they were using bilocators. What do we call them? What was the name I was thinking about the other day? We were calling them, and where they would have, and Russia did the same thing. You had a lot of out-of-body travelers that were coming in on sessions and stuff. Oh, this thing gets so deep, it's unbelievable in the military, and some of these things are never exposed. The things they've been working on way back in the 60s. So interesting stuff, Back in the 60s, even Eckankar was called the science of bilocation, where you could be two places at the same time. Well, how in the heck can you be two places at the same time? Well, you've got your body, and then you have you. But you have several bodies to have a physical body. So you theoretically are at any given time in at least 4 bodies simultaneously. You can't have a physical body and not have a mind. You can't have a physical body and not have emotions. It's impossible, because that's in the chain of getting here. So to get here to have a physical embodiment, you have to have these other embodiments as well. Well, this is what simply out-of-body travel is moving from one body, pulling your attention back to another body. That's all it is, And each body is, of course, more expansive, more beautiful, and a lot more everything, because it's closer to consciousness. And so as you get down into these really high chemical levels, claustrophobia, some of you have experienced that already, the claustrophobic effect of creation, because it is so limiting to your awareness. You're so free in your consciousness. Difficult for some people to deal with that, because they're used to using the mind to stabilize themselves in creation. And it is a stabilizing factor in the sense that you have points of reference and points of activity and movement and things like that. When you lose that, which is what happens to older people, their minds go down, things go down, they're faced with just awareness. They don't know how to deal with that. And so you see what you see in that. So anyway, I wanted to talk on some of these questions here. I know they put together some real tough cases, and there are some really tough cases out there, guys, no question about it. But I can tell you, as simplistic as it is, you go after trauma the same way you go after detoxification and regeneration, because trauma is an acidic event. So you're going to go after the health of it. Look at that 7-year-old child and what the mother's doing on predominantly fruit. And then there's that lady that I was going to show you. What did I do with her case here? I had it sitting on my desk here, but somehow it disappeared. But she's been, 27 years a fruitarian. 27 years a fruitarian. I hand it to her. I think she needs to be applauded. She looks good. She looks really good, in my opinion. You're not going to be, I don't know, because some of the primates are muscled up on fruit, but the problem with the primates is that most of them are not, except for the orangutans, in high fruit levels anymore. Some are stuck on islands, some are pushed way up in the mountains because of the low-lying areas are being used as farmlands. And so you see a lot of changes in the environment that these primate species were raised in to begin with. So I don't know. You can argue anything, but one thing you can't argue with is success. When you see the effect of something and what it has, it's one thing to argue it intellectually, which to me is like everybody's got an opinion. They're like, you know what, everybody's got one. But success, and what does it yield? Does it regenerate the human body? And so when you get into it, I think that we've laid it out pretty good, don't you? We've laid out the chemistry of life, we laid out the physics of life and how it works, and then you guys are proving it. And thousands of people worldwide, thanks to you guys, thousands of people worldwide are finding their solutions, finding their succor and their happiness and joy. And that's what we need to do. And some of you young guys and gals that are coming in here with karmic loads on you, let's get rid of them. So you can be happy and free and feel good again, instead of suffering. When you're young, you're not supposed to be suffering. So it's a sad thing, to see that. And so I'm glad a lot of you young guys and gals are really taking this on and honking on with it. Some of you went way out there with it and farther than I went. And I'm real proud of you. And you're showing just what the body can take. But sometimes you rat out, because we've had generations of the consciousness of earthly eating. The higher you eat up off the ground, the more awake you'll be. And you'll see that, and you can experiment with that. The deeper into the ground, as you dig into the ground, you find your starches, you find your higher proteins and things like this. And so when you get into the tropics, which is the areas that the Homo sapien is really designed for, you don't have high mineral content of soils and things like this. You don't. And it's funny, as you go further into the northern climate, you find more mineral-rich soils. When you look at the soil difference between Florida and Wisconsin, for an example, but look at the temperature changes and the environmental changes. Big difference. So I do admit it's difficult in some of these areas, but when you're going after tumors and systemic inflammation or acidosis, so to speak, sometimes you have to toe the line. So warm up with herbal teas like 3-lung tea, breaks up heavy mucus in the body, stuff like that. So mixing that with Hill tea and sipping on warm teas and covering up. Surviving the winter, So do your best in doing that. If you don't need to be so strict, then come down and have salads and maybe some vegetable soups and some things like that. You'd have a big salad and a vegetable soup would be good. But then keep your fruit in the morning always. You should always keep your fruit because you're breaking the fast from the night before. Breakfast is simply breaking the fast because you fasted all night long. I think also using some of these 24 and 36-hour dry fasts. We never talked about dry fast as I was growing up with the Clements and with the natural hygienic people and things like that. It was water fasts, but not a lot of discussion on dry fasting. And it should have been. But again, things are appropriate in the growth and expansion of man's ability to handle it. Because we're coming out of some very low, dark, agey states of consciousness here and still exists around the country and around the world. So in changing the lifestyle and the diets will change the consciousness. Because foods are tied right into the consciousness of man. Tied right into it. And so some of your meat eaters, it can pull your consciousness down. You want to be careful with that. Remember, meat, whether it's fish, chicken, beef, pork, ostrich, rattlesnake, squirrel, frog legs, it don't matter. It's still just dead cells and stagnant blood. Dead cells and stagnant blood. And that's healthy. Yeah. So that's the sort of thing, you want to take a look at when you eat something. What is it really made of? Some of it's like, yuck. But, so I really am proud of all of you guys for taking this on and showing the world just what you can attain from this. And the young children need so bad to regenerate themselves. Very, very important. And I remember I was talking about mother's milk, and some lady gave a negative comment. What does he know about it? He doesn't know nothing about. Oh yeah, I do, honey. I'm a chemist. So I do look at the chemistry of milks and the chemistry of everything. Because if you don't, then you're like a leaf blowing in the wind. You don't know what causes things. You don't know why your baby has colic and spit up, and why you see tumors forming, and why you see congestion all the time and fevers. Explain those things if you're so wise then. See, and that's the thing. You have to understand why the body does what it does in response to chemistry, because that's what it is on this planet. Everything's a response to chemistry, and everything is pH driven. Even your minor acids are beneficial at certain levels. Absolutely. Like we're talking about estrogen is a minor acid. Without that, a woman has vaginal dryness. So some of these minor acids are stimulants, no question. But they're not heavy stimulants. And so proteins are very much stimulants as well. So we just have to be careful with that sort of thing. And just find a healthy balance. For those that don't care about chemistry or anything, good. Just keep your life simple. Have fruit in the morning, which breaks the fast before. Have a nice salad at lunch, and then maybe a light supper. If you're in the northern climates, have a little vegetable soup for supper or something like that. If you have to dig in, digging in is getting into the all fruit, berries and melons, or mono fruits. I mean, look at the difference with the... And you can test these things on yourself. You can do fruit in the morning, a salad at lunch, and maybe a soup at night. Do that for a couple of weeks. And then go fruit in the morning, fruit at lunch, and a salad at night. See how that feels. Then you can do fruit in the morning, salad at lunch, and fruit at night. See how that feels. Then you can do a mono diet of just fruit. See how that feels. The problem, guys, comes in quality of fruit. Some people send me organic oranges and they're bitter. Navel oranges grown properly will be sweet as honey. The more bitter something is, the more acidic it tends to be. Now they still have an alkaline ash for the most part, like lemons, but they have acidic principles and high astringent principles. But it doesn't make them acid-forming foods. Like your proteins and your grains and your beans, your pasteurized dairies, things like this. These are acid ashes, and those are extremely mucus-forming. They leave an acid ash. They create a draw of calcium out of the connective tissue of the body, and then you see what you see. And when you change that, what you see, varicose veins, spider veins, petechia, bruising, anything, all these things you're seeing from an acid ash diet goes away from an alkaline ash diet. How interesting. But when you understand why, it's not magic, it's chemistry. And then, of course, you get into your energetics. What's the difference between a raw versus a cooked? And I think it was David Wolf who had a book out and showed some minor Kirlian photography. I wanted to get, and I still would like to, get a Kirlian photography set up so we can show not only foods, but the difference between your auric field when you start and when you start going on fruit, the difference between your vibrations and the auras that you put out. Amazing. And some of you guys are now opening your consciousness up. Now you're seeing people being pulled to you. People are looking at you. They don't know why, but your light is so bright. Good stuff. You guys are kicking butt. Sarah, I have recently discovered your YouTube channel and website. I've learned an enormous amount in the last few weeks. Good. So thank you. I've had 8.5 months of heavy investigation into healing and in search of Wellville following the work accident of my spouse. The father of our two beautiful kids. He fell, listen to this. He fell from a height of 12 meters with a fellow climber, oh my God, while constructing a wind mast. Holy crap, honey. He suffered multiple fractures, I bet, from his leg up to his jaw. Oh my God. And ending with a severe traumatic brain injury. Oh my God. Oh, well, holy man, he was in a coma for 2 weeks when the doctor told me he would most likely never walk again. And that if he did, he would most likely be a vegetable. I knew that was not the case. Yeah, there's a good woman right there. I have been furious that this sort of information was given to me with such little thought. And let me change that thought to awareness, honey, because that's their problem. They're thinking too much, and their field is involved in regeneration. Their field isn't involved in health. It might be a shock to some of you, but allopathy is not about health. They might put their chest out, and you got them on all these news networks, and you got these medical doctors giving their opinions about health. How come you guys don't put naturopaths who know more about health by far? That's their field. Medical doctors' field is not health. It's a treatment of diseases with pharmaceuticals, period, end of story. Now, some good medical doctors branch out and go, well, maybe I'll learn a little more and grow a little more. Kudos. But as a rule, you're looking at a very close network of awareness. It'll be lucky if Dr. Lee gets that video or even views it and then takes it on at all. And if she's an awake, like I hope she is, she'll go, oh, I'm beginning to understand why these lipomas, why these tumors and cysts, and what we have to do to stop forming them. I don't know why you're forming, you have different ones and all these. It doesn't matter. Location, whether you got cells or non-cells in them, it all has metabolic acids in it. The oils are what kind of oils? There's only one system that's oily in the body, and it ain't blood, right? So I don't know what this is. You don't know what this is? See, so that's the problem with thought. It's all there. All these different pieces are there. It's just that the mind can't put them together because it doesn't have awareness. You're the one that has awareness. So you see what I'm saying? So the more you depend upon thought, the less awareness you can have. It's scary because that develops the ego and you think you have awareness and you don't. So, but the thing is, no matter what trauma someone's in, and if you've got a loved one in trauma, and even in a coma, you want to use TPN treatments or liquid vitamin mineral treatments, but whenever you can get a stomach tube in, or an NG tube, a feeding tube, that's when you want to get into the fruits, whether it's just fruit juices, doesn't matter. You want to get it at high electrical, not just in the chemistry, electrolyte side, but the electrical electrolytes. In other words, these foods are charged electromagnetically. That's what you're looking for too, is to enhance the electricity of the body, because what controls everything in the body? The nervous systems, from the central to the autonomic. So they're an energy-based system. What happens when you take the energy out of your nervous system? Muscles don't work, twitches, seizures. So all these vaccines that are neurotoxic, all these neurotoxins can throw you into seizures and throw you into all these things. So if whether you're in a coma or whatever, you want to get electricity to them and high electrolyte alkaline foods, because they've been in a highly acidic medium, most people, then they have trauma on top of that. So their lymph systems are not working to help remove the trauma, the tissues that have been damaged, because what happens to cells that are damaged? They're taken to the lymph nodes where macrophages are, right? Well, what happens if that can't happen? Then you get tumors full of cells that have been destroyed. Or it might have a cell that's damaged to the point we can call it a cancer cell. See what I'm saying? Because this is an isolate. Remember, Dr. Pimple pulls the sac out. What would that sac be there for, I wonder? To protect the lower tissue around it. And that's the problem. The body is a very smart, wise body. I mean, who created it? So on this trauma, you want to get as much as you can. You want to get those fruit juices, electrical, high electrolytes. That'll start making things fluid. You'll start creating an anionic medium, which is the medium of turning things on again. That's how you can get rapid growth in cells and stem cells. The other part of this is botanicals. Botanicals are created specifically for tissues, for cells. Remember, herbs are not for diseases. That's man-made created. These are concepts and theories of man. If you can't explain it, slap a word disease on it. Then you can say pretty much it's a disease. I don't know, but it's a disease. That's unawareness. That's unconsciousness. So when you become conscious, you start putting the jigsaw puzzle together. Oh, that's chemistry, that, and that, and that. And it becomes simplistic. Well, to the intellectual mind, simplicity is, no, these people are stupid. These people don't know what's up. Oh, really? So the first thing you want to do, then, upper circulation, lower circulation. Get the blood moving aggressively into these tissues. Always go after the kidneys and adrenals. Adrenals, steroids. You need steroids for inflammation, for rapid healing, also for the utilization of minerals. Always go after the parathyroid gland in trauma, because that's how you utilize calcium. That's how you re-strengthen structure. Because you can imagine someone that has had this amount of trauma that has a parathyroid weakness or a pituitary and parathyroid weakness. They're not going to heal well. And remember, that's the highest electrolyte in the body is calcium. So you have nerve transmission involvement, you have structural involvement, connective tissue, obviously, part of the structural involvement. So we want to focus on all those things. And then you want to get up into the head, brain and nerve formulas, upper circulation formulas, start turning on the nervous systems, turning on those things that are involved in the blueprints. Because all this magnetic energy is not just physical. Remember, we talk about this, how you have to come out of the mental world. Well, you have a fruit tree. That fruit tree has an emotional body and a mental body, just like you. You can't have anything. You can't have these crystals. You can't have anything that doesn't have these other counterparts to them, guys. Impossible. You can't hitchhike from consciousness right around and just have a physical body. Impossible. Doesn't happen. So you have to follow these things. Well, by giving them herbs and everything, you're affecting these bodies on this poor guy that had this fall. And that gets into the causal blueprints of the body. And that's when you see regeneration of tissue, is when you enhance the causal mind, which is the blueprint. And so that energy, along with the energy of all that follows suit with that, starts to regenerate and straighten up the body. And this young lad will come out even better than he was before the fall. Fractures will heal up. The trauma, the brain trauma, that'll heal up. And he won't be a vegetable. But if you sit there and feed this guy acid nutrition and acid foods, yeah, he could end up a vegetable because he has no hope. Nobody's helping him to regenerate the human body. He's just going to be a battery. We don't know, because you don't know how to regenerate. The medical field is not about health. It's about stabilizing trauma, I agree, but some of it is really bad. Look at ICU. You can be in ICU from a stroke or a heart attack, and you'll still get a barbecued beef sandwich with French fries. Now, is that smart healing? No. And some people die. It doesn't come out of ICU because of that crap. You know, this is the sort of thing. I mean, it's neat to have stabilization and have some pharmaceuticals that stabilize. Absolutely. But you've got to go all the way with that. You can't do this. You can't have heavy antibiotics and things. Think everything's a bacterial problem and infections and stuff like that. That's insane. That's a lack of understanding of the lymphatic system. And you don't understand the lymphatic system, how are you going to help somebody? Because it's through the lymphatic system that traumatized tissue is removed. And so the body can repair. And the acids from that. And the acids that were already stagnant in that area, probably on this person. Unless this person was filtering and a raw foodist, as a rule, he's part of the same scenario of all the other Homo sapiens. Highly acidic, highly agglomerated. And when you have trauma on that, it's hard to come back from that. Quads, jelly steak, quads, paras, and that sort of thing. Then how can we get them up and walking again? How is that possible? How is it possible to have someone with Lou Gehrig's full of brain lesions get up and walk again? Highly possible, because they're not living on the acid side of chemistry. Nobody told them that their diets and everything they were given is acidic, and it was just throwing them deeper and deeper, and so they get worse and worse and worse and bottle until they die, because you're taking them into Hellville, which is the acidville. So you want to get them into the alkalinville. That's the electrolyte energetic bill, especially when you're doing whole electromagnetic foods. You don't process stuff. Man just lost his way big time in that way. I knew that this was not the case. I had been furious that this sort of information was given to me with such a little thought. Sarah, I love you, baby. Good for you. Yep. He opened his eyes the next day, absolutely, and has slowly but steadily improved ever since. He is currently undergoing inpatient rehabilitation. Now, again, you got these physical therapists, you got all this stuff, but hello, physical therapists. Add the high healing powers of the fruits, the berries, and the foods, and the botanicals, and understand how you get this body back into a state of wellness, and you'll be amazed Because you're taking people that has high acidosis and you're trying to make them physically, work these muscles and stuff. Well, why are you trying to work the muscles? What happens if you leave your muscle? It gets stiff. You ever break an arm that's in a sling and people, I got to work my arm. It's stiff. It's why? What causes that? The accumulation of acids, right? And if you're not moving something, because activity moves the lymph. The problem comes in if you're not filtering. If you're not filtering and you're trying to move everything, then you're adding to the acidosis of the human body, not realizing that. Yeah, you can get people going and get them going, but really not to the levels that this young lad can get himself into. The whole experience has been a crazy one, I bet. I bet that's pretty hard on the old heart of Ruski. But somehow I feel like I am exactly on my path where I am supposed to be. Sounds it to me too, Sarah. I'll tell you what, and I'll be right there with you. I've never learned so much in the last 8 months. Good. Because I tell you, you can take your man, get him back to Wellville, and then higher than he ever was. There's a lot of people lying in states like this that, of course, he's coming out of it. But my God, remember our friend, fellow YouTuber, that his parachute didn't open? He could have been one of these guys, but no. He learned about the raw and the herbs, and look at him now. A major spiritual awakening and self-world realization while trying to deal with healing in a hospital setting with a closed-minded idea of allopathic medicine being the only option. I bet. Yeah, because then you start waking up to the reality here that allopathy has absolutely nothing to do about health. They're staggered because they're stymied. They don't understand. Everything is a disease to them, but their minds were trained that way. And they allowed themselves, those souls allowed themselves to be trained in that. Well, that's okay, but it limits their perception. The problem with that is they blow back on everyone else. It's that old a narcissistic view that we're the best because we have all the academic knowledge. No, you don't. Matter of fact, some of it's just stupid. When it comes to the lymphatic system and how the body removes metabolitic waste, if it wasn't for some of these great universities, and I still say this PhD from Rochester, I have kudos to that guy for bringing out the fact that the body uses the lymph system to detox metabolic acids or waste out of the brain. I mean, that's a huge step, in my opinion. Tying it to the kidneys and the skin is going to be their biggest day of sunshine if they ever do it. You guys have already done it. Keenan, is that right? And I ran a small organic farm, so we were rarely fronted with the medical world. Well, see, that's why they were already in an organic stance of thinking. We have always eating a lot of fresh organic fruits and vegetables, but I've also had our fill of organic French bread and cheeses, not to mention years of pasta and lots of beer. Yeah, when I had a clinic in Portugal, everybody had wine at every meal, and cheese seemed like me when I was over in France with Eileen or Shania Twain. All these French friends, they had the cheese carts, and you pick cheese. You go, no, man, no. And so, I got it. Though in retrospect, I can see a lot of personal issues that may have come about because of poor food choices. Yeah, I mean, remember, these foods tied to states of consciousness, And so as you learn to grow in your dietary habits, you also grow in your awareness. Isn't that cool? Yeah, that is cool. Yeah. Even without eating super clean, our medicine cabinet included clay, vegetable charcoal, arnica, and essential oils. Yeah. See? I knew you were good, Sarah. Nothing compares to hospital protocol, though. For the first 4 months, I struggled to have the rehab center allow me to feed him more nutrient-based organic diet via his feeding tube. Thank you. You shouldn't have to struggle with that because you're paying the bills. As the head of the American Medical Association said to 60 Minutes years ago, head of the AMA said to, I think it was Wally Safer, but said to the 60 Minutes, that buyer beware. What? Wait, you're about healing and health. No, that buyer beware, that's the head of the AMA. That's the main association of allopathy. Let buyer beware. What type of level of awareness is that? Well, you all know. That's why I'm so down on that. Not practitioners that want to wake up and learn how to heal people. But I bet you did struggle with that. And that's why I say, get those feeding tubes and you go right up in there. You juice and you get them up in there. They can change them out when they get backed up. But when you can do that, I've cleaned up a lot of cases through feeding tubes. Mm-hmm. You never let anything stop you. And it's like, I'd go in for that one. She had no avail. I wasn't allowed to feed him blended meals, so I found some organic versions of tube formula. Oh, tube formula. Oh, yuck. I remember this guy had triple strokes. Bam, bam, bam. So his medical doctor told his wife to go make funeral arrangements. Well, she'd been a nurse for years, an RN for years. And they were islanders originally, I think. So she called me up. She said, "Could you come look at my husband?" So I'm in the hospital. They'd been friends, and her medical doctor came in, looked at me, and said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "The friend of the family." Well, he wanted to make funeral arrangements. I told her to get him home, get a feeding tube in him. So she did. 3 months later, I have him sitting up counting his ABCs. But initially, he started coming back. He started having a lot of mucus. And she said, "Man, he's coughing a lot of mucus." I said, "Did they send you home with anything?" She said, "Yeah, they sent me home with several boxes of insurance crap." I said, "Are you serious, honey? You don't know not to do that." As soon as she got him off of that crap, all that congestion cleared up and he started getting his, we started going after him again. That's the sort of cases I love. When you can take someone that's stroked out and you ain't got nobody there and you're bringing them back. Not on formulas. And look at these friggin' formulas of Ensure sitting there in the refrigerator hugging the fruits and vegetables. How clever of a pharmaceutical, basically commercial, that is. Has nothing to do with fruits and vegetables. And look at the protein count of these. They're proud to say the protein is high. Really? That's the problem, is proteins. So, this is the sort of thing. It's almost like they're there to bring you down to Hellville, not to bring you up to Wellville. And that's scary, So this poor lady couldn't even feed her husband. I'd be knocking on some medical doctor's door saying, that buyer beware. It's like that young child that's 7 with the cerebral palsy and all that. I think they pretty much told her he would die on raw foods. Oh, really? Take a look at him, what he's doing on fruit. I mean, it's just insane stuff. And once again, was rejected because of regulations. Really? No, not because of regulations. That's because they're narcissistic and because they think they know better. And they don't think we know anything. Oh, really? Well, because of you guys, you're showing the world that, oh, really? It's time to get this level of regeneration. Yep. See you get that level of regeneration. I've never seen a medical doctor cure MS or their disease syndromes. I've never seen any medical doctor at all. They said no to organic liquid hope formula. Instead fed him morning, noon, and night a Nestle Health Sciences maltodextrin formula. I found that to be criminal. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a grown person who has total constitutional rights, unless you're not, total constitutional rights to do as he will. You're letting buyer beware. I'm in your place and paying your bills. I need to be able to have my say. Patient Bill of Rights. These get me. Get me going today. What's the time here? I have tried hard not to be in conflict with the sinners. Doctor said, "Oh no, I would be." I can tell you story after story where I warned them, and they went ahead and killed the patient. I warned them, but everything just seems to be upside down, and that's the problem. That world is disjointed. It doesn't know anything about health, and yet you're going there with trauma. We're trying to work these people back into a state of regeneration, and yet their very health programs, their dietary programs are degenerative in nature. It's lucky these beings can come back out of it. I tell you. But it wasn't that the power of this man being somewhat organic and following health practices before. He might still be in a coma. You never know. Even in terms of actual physical rehab and personal relation. Boy, at this point, honey, I'd be putting my foot down and said, nope, nope, I'm and he are the boss. I'm his wife, I'm his caregiver, I have jurisdiction, and you don't. I'd be after him. Or, could I have another doctor, please? Because this one is a butt you-know-what. Keenan lost the use of his right side after the accident and is slow in recovery. Oh, you get that back. Yeah. Though he is having a hard time building the bone back in his tibia fracture. Well, look at what they're feeding him. And you want to think about regeneration, of course. You want to go after the kidney and adrenal so you can remove these acids, but you want to think about parathyroid, get him on a bones formula, where you got herbs that accelerate bone regeneration, like comfrey. That ought to send him out. That sort of thing. And start regenerating bone tissue. But you can't regenerate bone tissue in acidic medium. These are harder areas to regenerate because acid mediums are corrosive mediums. And if medical doctors don't understand that, please turn in your degree, your license and your degree, and go dig ditches or something where you don't hurt people. Because that's just what they need to do. If they don't understand that, then why did you go to med school for? Maybe they neglected to tell you the truth. Whew. He is exhausted. Well, that's your adrenals. There's no question about that. And you need enlivening food, electrical foods. And these people don't get it. Somebody thinks it's better to cook a food or process a food than eating it raw. What? Some of that FDA crap, it's all bought and paid for crap. It's sad that your consumer protection agencies are bought and paid for agencies. Makes you sick to your stomach. Muddle and has no memory recall. You can get that back though, honey. Upper circumbrain and nerve. Just, for me, I'm doing 2 dropperfuls of each one of those. And you're really going after that. So you got to be able to use those feeding tubes and get the herbs in him. I don't know if he's off the feeding tube yet, but if not, go right in there. Get your electrical juices. I'd get those darker grapes and go right into there and throw some herbs in there for him. And really start turning everything on, getting the kidneys, especially the kidneys. You want to keep them filtering and functioning. So yeah, you want to get that. Of course, the adrenals are on top. So you want to go after the adrenals. If it's got real low blood pressure, hit with the licorice roots. You'll start turning that on so you get neurotransmitters for the electrical department, but also steroids for healing and health. All these things are vital. And then, of course, you want to turn on all the other endocrine glands, especially the parathyroids. He is gradually gaining in daily memory and has learned a lot since his coma. He can usually remember when guided to do so. Apart from memory, he has always felt to be in there to me. Of course he is. Of course that soul is there. That body is gone. They don't have to pull the plug. He'll pull the plug. So no. He's there and is now able to communicate more clearly with everyone, so they are. So maybe he can tell them to get away and let you control his wellness journey. Starting to catch on. He seems extremely worn out, but mentally right on. Adrenal glands. The trauma itself is an adrenal killer. That's for sure. So, kick on those adrenals. You'll get him. He is eating by the mouth now. Oh, good. So they thought it would be happy. But no, now his meals consist of industrial powdered, enriched mashed potatoes, pureed conventional meat. Yeah! Holy, you got to put a stop to that. You got to get in there and say, you got a dad or mom that'll back you. Get a family in there and say, no, that's it. And because you guys are stupid. You're not nutritionists. You're not healthy. You might have a dietitian that thinks she is. Holy Lord to mercy. Holy crap. I like to chew those people up for lunch. They have no clue. And they're sitting there as a dietitian, fitting these meals, parade stuff, and powdered meat. He's lucky he's coming out of it, dear one, just from this crap. And yogurt. Well, he's going to have a lot of mucus coming out of him when he gets home. He has been medicated since the second he was admitted in the emergency room almost 9 months ago. Yeah, and that's, of course, that doesn't help with the neural toxicity of that and the suppression of the autonomic. And so with the adrenals and that, no wonder he doesn't have got nothing going on there. So you want to empower, turn on. What they don't understand is alkaline is anti-pain. They're keeping him in pain. See, the ironic part of this is the diet is highly acidic, which is keeping pain. And then they're giving him pain meds to deal with that. That's how ignorant that group is. They keep going around and around in these circles, chasing their tails of stupidity and unawareness. And so it's like fruits and things are anti-spasmodic, anti-pain, because they're strengthening. They're not stimulants. They're not acid forming, which is creating an inflammatory environment on top of an inflammatory environment. I mean, the stupidity of these guys ranks pretty high. And it's like someday when truth gets out there, these guys better take off running, because the world is going to come after them. Because this is stupid, and they're refusing to let those with awareness come in and help. Well, you know what? You have to pull your authority, your jurisdiction on them. Go to a lawyer. You have to. Everything. He has been medicated at an emergency room almost 9 months ago. Everything from coma meds, morphine, pain meds, sleep meds, antipsychotic meds, Botox. Oh, constipation meds. No kidding. Well, look what they're feeding him. Stomach acid meds, no flu vaccines, antibiotics, and more. Oh man, they're destroying this lad. That's their bag of tricks. That's their bag. Here, we're going to take your husband back to Hellville. It's amazing the power that soul has to help through all that to try to come back. And just think, if you'd have had him on your program, you'd have had him twice as back or 3 times as back right now, if not more. Absolutely. And this is just ranks with unawareness and stupidity and narcissism. Ugh. Yuck. That's why when people say, you need to learn how to work with that group. How do you work with that group that's narcissistic and believes everything they're doing is the best that that there is, and that you can't. You can't, because we're 100% opposite. We're 180 degrees opposite of them. You can't work with that. They have to learn how to work with us, because we're the ones having successes. They're not having successes because someone finally makes it out of the hospital, finally. They go, oh, look, we got him back. We saved him. Oh, really? Yeah. I wish we had the money to have naturopathic hospitals. We'll use the word hospital, I guess. But regeneration centers where you can take an individual like this and show them what you can do with someone like that in a fraction of the time, and have someone come out strong and walking again, like the guy's parachute didn't know, but he's running. I have been told to stop giving him mandarin oranges because he could choke. I have already given him 8 of them without a problem. He could choke. Oh. But let's give him meats, let's give him yogurts, let's give him all the crap that people get sick on. Oh, but it's not the diet that's why man suffers, right? That's the insanity of that program. They think they know chemistry, they don't know squat. I mean, I thank you for Pat and some of these A&P professors that are now learned about the body and how the lymphatic system works, and the high level of energetic nutrition is essential. These guys will make a difference. The problem is the universities that they're teaching at is suppressing their ability to teach it. That's the problem Pat's having. Sad stuff, Because isn't a university about growth and awareness and teaching what's true? And no. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I could go on and on. I get it, honey. And it makes her pretty crazy here. I get it. No, I get it. He's got his mind on his kids and getting back to them, and that's his power, of course. I have struggled to make our house handicap accessible, but am working on it. Listen, don't make him handicap long. Regenerate that man of yours, and you'll have him up and in no time. Go after regeneration. The difference is night and day. They're keeping him down. They're keeping his need for these because of their acid diets and things. So it's an oxymoron, and a cat chasing a tail that it's hard to get out of that. And a lot of people don't make it. People don't understand that the allopathic community is the #1 killer of humans on this planet. Bar none. How can you say you're a health modality when you wear the title as a top killer of humans on the planet? Gets me. Like I did orientation with a medical doctor from, he was from the Middle East. I was trying to think where he was from. And we were talking because I was going through orientation at this hospital with him. And he says, you medical? I said, no, I'm not a medical doctor. Please don't put that on me. He says, in my country, we're humanitarians. In this country, they're capitalists. And I'm sitting there going, you got that right. He was from Libya or somewhere over there. I have sold a bunch of farm equipment for a PEMF machine. Oh, poor thing. I'm getting our personal garden back up for our food, and am already converting my 5-year-old and 1-year-old onto a raw plant-based diet in preparation for his return. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that she has to now go after his health when his health should have been going after the day of the trauma. I know this is what I need to do. Clean his system out, boost it up, and let his body heal itself. He's done it before with injury on the farm, and we've always been amazed at how effective the body is. See, and if he didn't have that, and you working on you guys like that, he might have not been coming out of this. I am a bit concerned as to the best way to put this in place, knowing he is very fragile. Well, that's the point. When you're fragile, you don't do protein. Protein is not for the fragile and for the damaged, believe it or not. Or mother's milk would be the number one constituent, would be protein, and it is not. It's carbohydrates, 2 lipids, and the protein is bucking the rear, baby. So that's what you have to look at. Nitrogen versus carbon. You have to look at that. Protein isn't building the cells. That's a God thing. They're already built. Amino acids, yes. Structure, yes. You help with some of these things. But what the body needs is carbon, predominantly. That's why it's a predominant process on this planet, although nitrogen rules at some levels. So you just have to have that balance of chemistry, electrical chemistry, to make transition to homeostasis as smooth as possible, since he is already going through as much stuff. I would get him home and slam him on the raw right now, and I would go in there right now with either family members or whatever and say, you're done giving them crap foods. I have jurisdiction over this case, and you'll listen to me. If not, I want new doctors. I want doctors with a brain in their head. Start getting in their face. I don't know. I would be in their face big time because, I've got 50 years of this, so I can get in their face in chemistry and physics, and they have nowhere to go. Where are they going to go with that? And we have reputations of healing people the worldwide for almost 50 years, so they have nowhere to go. Nothing they have basically is sitting on the pillar of truth, and when you don't sit on the pillar of truth, you run like rats when the lights come on. When the consciousness and awareness comes on, all these people run like cockroaches because they're not holding up pillars of truth. You guys are. Also, I really can't afford to buy all the supplements. Well, we'll help you. Okay? We'll help you. Get a hold of Megan, my personal assistant. Tell me I read this to you. We'll help you. We're a little bit different. Because of shipping to France, I know we'll find a way. Would love to know which ones you would suggest for his recovery. Both circulations, brain and nerve, number 1 and 2. Get into the kidneys, the adrenal glands. Go after the endocrine glands big time. Turn on that parathyroid. Might not be the glandular for that one, but go after that parathyroid. Go after the kidneys. I do at least 1 lymphatic formula. At least 1. Okay, get that lymph moving. Get those kidneys to filtering that. If he's cold, get that thyroid up. Go after those endocrine glands so you start turning everything on electrical. Get in electrical foods, living foods in this being. I can't help but think that this whole thing happened in order for us to wake up. Well, on the spiritual side of things, it's all karma anyway, on both sides of the fence here, so can't get too upset with it because the world you're within, and this is a dark world at this time. And that's why you guys are here, to bring the light to it, to bring awareness to it. But don't be intimidated. Be strong. And that's, remember I said, this is the year of getting strong, and this is, and it's in your face too, Sarah. Get strong, power up, baby, because these people will overshadow you, and they have no awareness. You have the awareness. Power up, honey, and start exuding that power of knowingness, because you know by listening to our channel, you guys are learning more than any of these medical doctors will ever begin to know. Unless they learn to tune in and start learning about the lymphatic system, a little bit proper chemistry, and they'll start learning. They don't know. And they refuse to know. So, power up. This is the time for us to power up, and as you power up in your awareness, you will bring the light of God and the consciousness of the higher aspects of God to this planet, which is starving for it. The negative forces have been holding it down, and this is a good example. These are channels for the negative forces, not for the positive, beautiful, healing forces. No, no, no. Realize that your husband's trapped in an institute of negativity, and you're trying to bring positivity, and they don't want it. Power up. Yep, I gain in consciousness the more Quran improves. Thank you so much for in advance. Oh, no, Sarah, you guys are helping me change this world. Greetings, Dr. Morse. I won't be wrong if I say that you're the most loved. Aw, thanks. I love you guys. You're making us aware of the truth, which is so simple. Now, I do get a little quirky here, but when you give me cases like this, and this lad is in there, and they're giving him pureed meats and crap like that, I've told you cases where I've seen him in ICU eating barbecued beef sandwiches and french fries, and the patient died that afternoon. You don't give anybody that's had a stroke or a heart attack from a high acidic environment, high acidic, stimulated, spiced food. Holy crap! You're just sending them into Hellville. They don't get it. And they don't want to get it. They turn off. Click, I don't want to know. Really? So, this is the time to power up, each and every one of you guys. You guys are the blessed ones. You guys are the ones that are learning the truth. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I know the truth. You know, the problem is that a lot of us spiritual people tend to be a little more passive. We tend to be a little more, giving the love out and letting things just be and happen. Well, I've learned a little differently. So they're making me power up. So that's what you're going to see. I can't pronounce your name, and I greatly apologize, but it's spelled Vageesh. He's 25 years, and he's from India. I had that sense. I've got a lot of Indian friends, and especially down at this one Indian restaurant I kind of go to once in a while. But I love you guys. I love India. I just feel for the poverty there and all that, but I love India. I think it's such a blessed place. Since November 2011, I'm suffering from some spinal cord problem, which suddenly showed its symptoms and left me paralyzed neck down within an hour. Holy crap! Well, I don't see what goes on. So I'm bedridden since last 7 years. Holy moly! Along with my 4 limbs, my bladder and bowel movement are also affected. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, you're what, a quad? I mean, you get up here in the higher C-spine, that's quads. You get in the lower C's, I guess you can classify it as a paraplegic, I guess, but that's generally the high T's. Oh my God. Though I've regained some movement in my upper limbs, but there's no voluntary movement in my lower limbs. I'm using balloon catheter for urine drainage and a suppository daily for bowel movement. Well, same thing here. When you're seeing, whenever you see something happening to the spinal cord, realize that all the blood, nerve, and lymph come out of these vertebrae, right? And they're going to where? The organs and glands. And the blowback is the opposite. So when you have kidney weakness, where's the blowback? L4, L5, your kidney vertebrae. And so then you start having lower back problems. Oh, yeah, my lower back, get the blowback is backwards. So now realize that, start fixing the organs and glands, and that blowback will be backwards to the spine. And of course, down that spine is all your pathways. And of course, the lymph pathways, that's why the neural lymphatic massages. And I have somebody work on your upper neck and down with neural lymphatic drainage or your kinesiology spots, your neural lymphatic spots. Number 1, get my kidneys filtering my adrenal glands up so you get your steroid up. Steroid power, natural steroid power is a good power to have there. But you also want to be able to eliminate whether you have swelling, because when you start having spine things, you have acidosis around the spine, whether it creates herniations or compressions or whatever. or gives you scoliosis, or that's all done in an acidic medium. And the only way you can get yourself out of that is get yourself on an alkaline dominant medium. It's the only way. So that's why you have to move yourself to that. And then you want electricity, right? You want to be able to feel. You don't want me to punch a screwdriver in your leg and go, oh, I didn't feel nothing. Yeah, you don't want that. So you want to turn on high electrical. On the fruits and the berry, and I've told you stories of quads that I've worked on that is amazing stories, especially the C3C4 quad, head-on car crash, complete spinal cord separation, plated up. What happened took me 11 months. Give you that. Took me a long time, but 11 months. Now, I did use ginseng and antler on her a lot, especially toward the end, and it did definitely help regenerative issues here. But I hit her with everything with the kitchen sink, herbal-wise, tell you the truth. I was after her, but I stayed steady with the fruit and the berries and got regeneration out of that. And that's what you're going to do. You want to remove any of the things that are creating electrical interferences, anything that, so upper circulations, lower circulations, brain and nerve formulas, absolutely. Double dose if you have to. Then go after the lymph and go after why tissue is affected. Because outside of the trauma, how do you break down tissue in the body, and what side of chemistry does it? If you don't know that, then why would you ever call yourself a doctor? If you don't know what side of the world that causes these problems in the body, oh, they're diseases. Oh, you must have caught something. It's that sort of thing. So no matter if they can't find anything or not, you know that acids are in the medium of this. So you want to get your kidneys filtering and work on those neurolymphatics will help to drain that. And then if you're having pressures and things, candle the ears if you have to. Use eye washes to start moving these fluids around a little bit. These things stimulate blood and lymph. Remember, those are the only two fluids you find interstitially. Water is the universal solvent. That's what the body uses to try to break up these highly agglomerated mediums. That's why you see swelling in these areas, and especially when kidneys are not filtering, and you see that high acidosis backing up, and you're going to see edema. That's for sure. But why? Anybody ever wonder the whys of life? I sure have. Okay, so last December 2011, I was also diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis, absolutely, okay, in my left thigh. See, and that's again, when you're looking at any of these type of things, you got to get that blood, you got to get all the body into an alkaline state. Because a slight movement of the pH of the blood can create agglomeration of the blood cells. And it doesn't have to be acidic, because acidic blood will kill you right off. But just a slight movement can start to create red blood cells sticking or following each other like choo-choo trains if you ever watch blood work under a microscope, things like that. And that's all a diet that's acidic forming and lack of enzymatic action, a lack of enzymes. That's why it's so important to consume your food alive, because it carries its own enzymatic action to it. Which resulted in pulmonary embolism. Oh, I bet. See, this is the problem. You're way too acidic, bro. And you really got to get yourself into the other side, because how you treat this is on the alkaline side. So again, you got to keep moving your body, especially your blood, into the alkaline side of chemistry. That then will begin to move and hydrate this huge lymphatic system. And so all these swellings and agglomerations will then go down. You don't have to have Dr. Pimple Popper to breed them, so to speak. I take anticoagulants to keep the blood consistently in balance and to avoid further clot formation. So, again, you want to go into the kidneys. Get your kidneys filtering. Well, to get that, you have to get yourself into an alkaline state. An alkaline state breaks up agglomerations, coagulations, things like that. Acidosis is what creates these. And you can create some of this in the blood in minor acids. So this whole idea that bicarbonate is the savior, and that's all bull crap. And you'll start pulling calcium out of your vascular walls to be involved in this, and that becomes a problem too. So acid ash foods are one of your worst enemies right now in these embolisms and things like this. You want to avoid acid ash foods like crazy. And I would clean out my spleen a little bit. I would do some spleen formulas, clean out the liver, gallbladder, get my kidneys to filter, and clean this up, and you'll be fine. Use circulation formulas to keep everything dilated and moving, and of course that creates an alkaline state. High flavonoid chemistry, which is your fruits and your berries, essential to this, and you will strengthen and clean and break apart that which is coagulating. Anticoagulants, yeah. Well, they're trying to keep you from that, which I don't blame them. That's understandable in emergency situations, but fix the problem then. Fix it. And that's why I say the alkaline side of chemistry is anticoagulants, anti-tumors, antispasmodics, all of these sort of things. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, they recommend the opposite, high acid diets. Well, what side of life are they on then? The negative side. I mean, sorry, but it's all right there. It's all right there. And we want to build humanity. My journey to Wellville started about 3 months ago when I switched to 100% fruit diet. Yeah! Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, this guy's getting it. I could feel a major difference in my energy level, but then the blood consistently started fluctuating really bad. Well, you're starting to break things up, bro. That's all I can say. You're starting to break things up. Any plaquing on the walls, you're starting to break everything up. So keep going. Use circulation formulas. Keep going, because the alkaline chemistry is essential to keep all this from staying at home. No matter what, fix the kidneys, get your skin sweating, get the eliminatives up to organs up to par here. When I took blood thinners along with fruit diet, no, blood became so thin. Absolutely, no. Yeah, because fruits are already blood thinners. That's what they don't get. That's an anionic medium, a medium of fluidity. And that my internal bleeding could have happened. Absolutely. So which would you stop, the fruit or the anticoagulants? Up to you. So I stopped taking the blood thinners and thought that fruits will take care of it. But then blood became so thick. Oh, wow. New clots were forming. All right. So you got to stay alert, but have them work the dosages out with you. Don't take such deep dosages of anticoagulants. At the same time, I get those kidneys filtering, bro, and get that spleen cleaned out. Absolutely. And start getting this, because it's going to take you a while, obviously, to clean that body out. So try to ride the balance between those two. I take medicine sometimes with lower power, but still the result comes completely unexpected. This is making me worried as it further added restrictions to my activities, and it could be life-threatening as well. Please suggest me how could I... See, you're going to have to do this. Going to have to do a little of this, and we do, especially even if those have been on like steroids for long times or hormones like thyroxine-based stuff, even Armour, glucophage, maybe so much with blood sugars, things, but definitely with hormone issues and stuff. You've got to titrate and find a balance to move your tissues back into a state of health and vibrancy. Sometimes you got to do a little of this, but you can't just live on this side worried about the health side. Work with that. And you just have to pull yourself out of it. He's got a picture of his eyes here, but very difficult to see. Secondly, like every other spinal patient, I don't sweat below the affected area. C4T2. As you always put emphasis on sweating along with kidney filtration, I know. How should I deal with it? I don't know. Wrap your body up. Get some sweatsuits or whatever and try to wrap the body up and get it to start sweating and eliminating through the skin. Get those kidneys filtering for sure. And like I said, I'd go after the spleen, bone marrow, but that'll clean eventually. You just got to get into these remote areas of density and get these things cleaned up. It just take you a little while to do it. So you might have to ride the fence of balance. And if I have to say anything positive about allopathy, if you have a good medical doctor with some degree of awareness, then he'll help you or she will help you work through that, knowing what you're trying to accomplish with yourself and not scare your britches off. I've added my pictures to get your advice on weak areas as possible healing crisis that I could face. I just wanted to be walking, running, and jumping in. Oh, you will. But this time with an all-new personality and different levels of fruits, berries, and melons is its best. Absolutely. What you wouldn't want to do in this is vegetables. And that brings up a thing. You would not want to do vegetables if you're having a lot of coagulation problems. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do any greens, any vegetables. Wouldn't work out. Here's these eyes. So it's really difficult for me to see here. The one thing I can see right off, though, is some radius solaris coming out of that bow area right into the brain area. So you want upper circumbrain nerve start correcting some of these areas there. Hard to see because it's like, I don't know, these are like the pictures from the side or something, so it's hard to see there. Looks like left hip. See if this is the left eye. Yeah, I'm just throwing it out. It looks like left hip. Looks like a chronic kidney on the left side. Also looks like prostate. Backwise, upper T-spine, mid-back, either bladder or tailbone, lower back there. Cerebellum here on the left side, ear, cerebellum, frontal lobe up in here, so that's affecting the pituitary here, the pineal gland. So you want to go after all these in case they are participants in this problem of yours. Now on the right eye, you're definitely coming out here with either bladder or tailbone. Thyroid's chronic and parathyroid on that side, as much as I can tell now. More evidence of pineal and pituitary. Got some radius solaris up in midbrain and toward the back of the brain there. Looks like you have some pancreatic, maybe even some right hip issues, which then would tie in. Also, it looks like that right leg is totally weak genetically there, particularly from the knee up to the femur. So real quickly, that's what I see in that, as much as I can see in that eye, my friend. Give me better picks and everything will be good. All right, let's do one more here. These are really involved cases, guys. I tell you, you want to get yourselves back to this. And if you have to use a little of the AMA to do this, if you're letting the AMA dictate everything, stop, get somebody to work with you a little bit on that. Kind of like in Sarah's case. Heather Davis, hundreds of NF tumors. Woo-wee. We were just, Marcy just got 9 tumors out of a person. Well, sent her to a place and they did coconut, we'll call it coconut milk, but it's coconut water, right? Fasted them for so long. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? I tell you, cool stuff. I just started watching your channel and I'm convinced you are the answer to my prayers. I hope so. I've got hundreds of tumors that I believe are on my vagus nerve. Wow. They're shaped in grape-like clusters, I bet, and compresses the nerves. They're supposedly either neurofibromas or, I don't even know how to pronounce that one, but without removing them, there is no way to tell. They tell me. Well, of course, you wouldn't get any surgeon to mess with that. Even Dr. Pimple Popper wouldn't touch neurological things, but that I know of. So you only have one recourse, right? Go after the system. It doesn't matter the location. Doesn't matter the location. Neural, doesn't matter the location, guys. You have lymphatic everywhere. Everywhere. Everywhere there's cells, there's blood and lymph. Why? Blood is not part of the bathroom. Blood is only the kitchen. And in the interstitial spaces, no matter where, lymph dominates the fluid. Essential to the removal of metabolitic waste because every cell produces them, even in neural tissue. So you've got to look at that. So you're going back to the lymphatic system again because these are tumors or cysts or whatever they want to call them. And it doesn't matter the mechanism. The mechanism always falls under the acid sky. Whether ketones, it doesn't matter. Acids are always involved in that process of coagulation and agglomulation. Always. That's the nature of chemistry. So you want, as we've been talking, you want to get on the other side, the alkaline dominant side. You want to go on a fruit diet. And if I'm having those kind of tumors, I'm on a grape diet, brother. And 40 days sounds good to me. So what's 40 days? Even a month. So take 1 month of your life and eat nothing but grapes. Okay? The most packed nutrition of most of the foods, so the nutritional content of your diet is extremely high, higher than probably it's ever been. Electrically, if you've never had raw foods, electrically, you have an electrical diet now. See, and everything, when you start losing electricity and you start on the acid side of chemistry, everything agglomerates and deteriorates and is corrosive. And so you start packing tumors, so everything starts forming in the ways that you see them. So you're only hoping, my dear one, because I've had tons of cases where they were packed with tumors, and the only way out of them is to open those channels again. They will only continue to get worse. Absolutely will. But you understand that the reason that allopathy tells you that, because they don't know a thing about curing anything. And the word cure, someday I want to have a nice lawsuit against the FDA and stuff over that word. And states that have, and the AMA included, who have used that word in their practices because they're a non-curative modality, yet they're trying to claim the word curative. You know, they assume that curative reflects the word diseases. Oh no, not at all. Diseases are not curative. There's no disease that's curable. Sorry, because they don't exist. They're fabrication of the medical stupid mind. You know, their cause and effect rules everything, guys. Everything is cause and effect. And so if you don't know the cause of something, well, of course you're going to label it something. That's the mind. They'll only continue to get worse. The number one symptom, the number one symptom is what? Because they're neural. Pain! Absolutely, honey. I'm always in pain. I'm only 38, and this has been ongoing for 5+ years with the pain increasing each. Yeah, so the only pain... Alkaline chemistry, electrical alkaline chemistry is anti-pain, anti-spasmodic, all these antis. And get those kidneys filtering. Go after the lymphatic system. I know we sound like a broken record, but there's a big reason for it, and that is the body's very simple. And when you understand how it works and that it interfaces totally with chemistry, and the chemistry only has two sides to it, and no matter what you see, the influence of the pH on chemistry is dramatic. That's why you want to keep the pH within the proper pHs. Well, how does pharmaceuticals do that? They don't. Even their nutritional treatments don't, because they're using chemists who have, most of them are brainless, to the chemistry of nature. Sorry, chemists, but you're acting stupid out there. When you have chemists coming in here claiming they have alkalosis and they're highly acidic, it's like, what? You can't even get the pH papers to register alkalinity, and yet you're in a state of alkalosis? What? How? Metabolitic wastes are not alkalis. Sorry. So when you're working from that point of view, there's no coming out of this for you. See, and so you have to change the point of view, and even chemists, come on guys. I mean, I'm not that good of a chemist. I don't know that much. It hasn't been my focus. A little bit. I've got a 5-year-old daughter who has only known me to be sick. Poor thing. God. Well, you know what? Let's get you out of that. Let's get you out of that, honey. Come on. I'm so tired of watching her grow up from bed. Oh, my God. Ooh. Well, let's get you out of bed. Power up. Let's get the fruit diet, honey. Get on a grape diet immediately. Live on them. If you're in a cold climate, bundle up. You can use the Heal-All tea and 3-lung tea to warm up. That's helpful because that'll also have some action on your lymphatic system, on your endos. I've got all the herbs in the Heal-All tea too, which is just going after all these different tissues or systems actually. From what I gather, listening to your YouTube lectures, I desperately need to cleanse my lymphatic system. I'm permanently disabled, so I'm financially struggling already. Holy crap. Well, you know what? I know we can only help so many, but I tell you, the two that I've read, you call in and get with Megan. Okay, I'll tell her these two, or give Jenny a heads up, but we'll help you as much as we can, guys. And that's where we need those of you with money. You know, let's get a foundation. I don't care who controls it. And I've got producers that's claiming, let's get a foundation. We got millions of dollars we can put in it. Nothing ever happens. You know, you cure some of these people and they never see you again. Oh, I'm going to help you help all these people. See ya. That's what I see. And that happens to all these famous people. And we've cured so many people of so many things. And then they go right back, do the same things. Anybody comes in and says, oh, you know, you cure me, I'll give you. It's like, I've heard that all my life. And we need people to help people that are spiritually awakened, that realize if you want to put your money where your mouth is and help people like you and people that have no money, they're disabled, and how we can pull you out of that. So contact us, sweetheart, and see if we can get you going with that, because you got to get that. This is another sad story out there. I need a bunch of tissue here. I could just cry all the time. Holy crap. Please give me guidance. Well, same thing applies. Go after those kidneys. Go after those adrenal glands. Go after that lymphatic system. I think you ought to strengthen your nervous system, but I'm a little intimidated to do that right now because of these neural issues. But you want to get that lymphatic system honking and clean out the GI tract. And that's another thing in the glomulations in the body. Go after your GI tract. That's a hub of the body right here. That's an embryonic tail here. So you go after that. Electronics, I call it electronics, like a smorgasbord. It's like electrical everywhere. Every part of the bowel is electric connected to all the organs and glands that came out of it in the embryonic stages. So go after that. Clean up the gut. And of course, it's sitting where the head's sitting right down on it. So you really want to go after that as well. There's some must-dos in your life when you want to go health. And that is the lymphatic system, including the kidneys, the adrenals, the skin, the thyroids, right? And then you want to go after the gut, the GI tract. Go after digestion, absorption, which is the lymphatic system, utilization, the adrenal glands. Go into these things and pick up your ability to take foods to break them apart. Clean up the liver gallbladder full of sludge and stones and things like this. Clean the spleen. It's where how the blood cleans itself. The spleen is a major organ, lymphatic and blood. Look it up. But it's lymphatic because it takes the blood waste away. Blood uses the spleen to clean itself and refurbish itself. Hello? So when you're having, blood clots and things like that, go after that spleen as well. Go after the liver, gallbladder. Absolutely, you want to go after the liver. Detox the liver. It gets full of sludge. Please help me and my family. My 70-year-old mother is raising a 5-year-old. Be glad to help you, sweetie. Doctors say surgery is too risky. Of course it is. I can tell you that right off. And will damage nerve perhaps permanently. And they're right. Not that it's going to damage it permanently, but in their world it does. My intuition tells me no surgery. You're right on. No surgery. I wouldn't either. But you've got to fix why you're forming them. There's only one system that forms. Blood doesn't form. Blood is an alkaline medium, so it doesn't form coagulations. It takes you to augment the pH of the blood. How do you augment the pH of the blood? Your ingestion of chemistry. You're interfacing with chemistry. It's not some voodoo. It's chemistry. And there's acid ash foods and there's alkaline ash foods. If you're eating an alkaline ash diet, that breaks things up and creates an anionic medium. If you're on an acid ash diet, creates a cationic medium, a corrosive coagulated medium. So it rips you apart and makes you hard and stiff at the same time. And of course tumors are formed and everything else. And fruits are anti-pain. Interesting how these are kind of connected here. And there is a better way. I've tried everything it feels like. You haven't tried our way, honey. Sugar is a major trigger for pain. Complex sugar, but you have to have simple sugars. They're fixed in the alkaline matrix. So you have to have alkaline sugars. When you get into complex any chemistry, then you're going to get the acidic blowback from it. How do I go all fruit with this issue? You got to go all fruit. But you don't use the acid fruit. You want alkaline fruit. You want organic grapes, apples. I'd stay away from citrus and lemons maybe for a little while, although lemons are pretty strong, but it could accentuate pain. That's why if you're full of fibromyalgia, you're full of lupus, this is just full of acids. Yeah, when you get into your acid fruits, and like I say, some of these acid fruits shouldn't be acid. It's just the way we grow them, the way we've raised our trees and things like that. Get into organic growing and watch the beauty and transformation take place. You want sweet fruits, and that'll start to alkalize. When you're on acid fruits, you can accentuate pain a little bit, no question about it. But you want to push through some of this stuff, dear one. Please, I'm so lost. I feel myself dying spiritually, physically. Oh. No. That's your body, not you, honey. Power up, not your body. Not that body's blowing back on you so much. You've got to get your body outside of you. All right, so work with the now more and more and more. Get on the high fruit and berry diet. Now berries tend to be have a little acids in them, so that might be a little kick for you. But you gotta have it. You gotta have the flavonoids. Use herbs for circulation issues. Get the kidneys opened up here. You could use an antispasmodic, I suppose. Please, God bless it. Thank you so much. So contact Heather, contact us, and see if we can't help you there. All right, and. I have to break, but I shall return. I keep saying that, but my world has been really busy, but it's coming, that busyness is coming to an end in some ways, and so I'll have more time to sit with you and go deeper into your cases. But these three cases here are enough to go, wow, we need to go. But these three cases apply to each and every one of you. And me too. Applies to all of us. We have Homo sapien bodies where, we live in the matrix of chemistry and physics. Electromagnetic energy and its formation of chemistry. And there's only two sides to chemistry. Pick one. Try your acid side, which almost everybody has been doing. Now jump on your alkaline energetic side and watch the magic. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Tough cases. Holy crap. Feel for you guys. Holy crap. But we're here to help you burn through that karma, and spiritualize yourself. Get in that now. Pull yourself to the present moment. Let your energy come out and expand and become that which is. And that will also infiltrate your bodies and help heal those bodies of yours. Get on the alkaline positive side. No backbiting. No talking bad about others. Always just be, and let the channel of spirit, the prana, the life force, be your goal. And your awareness will blossom. The answers to all the questions you have will come into you. And you don't need to go to school for those answers, unless you're studying subject matters and stuff. But if you want to know God, you have to become that which you want to know. And how do you become that which is? By becoming that which is. And you are already that which is. So you don't have to do nothing. The secret of the now.